That's works done in charity, a call to give truly, to love quietly, to live peace in action. Thomas A. Kempis shows us contentment isn't in keeping, but in pouring out, a zeal that warms the world from a still heart. And yet, as we extend this love outward, we soon meet the rough edges of others, their flaws, their stumbles, and a new test begins. Thomas knows this well, and he guides us next into the patience of bearing with the faults of others. Part 16, Bearing with the Faults of Others. And so, with our hearts opened by works of charity and our spirits lifted by the joy of giving, we come to a lesson that deepens our love through endurance, bearing with the faults of others. Thomas A. Kempis looks at the people around us, imperfect, prickly, human, and calls us to a steady grace. He writes, "If you cannot make yourself what you would wish, how can you expect others to be as you would have them? We wish others to be perfect, yet we do not correct our own faults. This isn't about excusing harm, it's about carrying patience, a love that bends but doesn't break." Let's start with a story. Meet Elena, a 32-year-old office assistant, cheerful but frayed by her co-worker, Tim. He's loud, interrupts, forgets deadlines, leaves coffee rings everywhere. He's impossible, Elena groans, tempted to snap or complain. One day, she reads Thomas, "Bear with others as God bears with you," and it shifts. She notices Tim's stress, new baby, no sleep. Next time he barks, she breathes, hands him a coffee instead. "Rough week?" she asks. He softens, nods. "I'm a mess," he admits. That's bearing, seeing past the fault to the soul. Thomas would sit with Elena and say, "Patience is love's muscle, stretch it." He's not blind, Christ rebuked when needed, but he sees our rush to judge, forgets our own cracks. Bearing faults isn't weakness, it's strength, a peace that holds when others falter, a charity that doesn't quit at the first snag. Here's another tale. Picture Miguel, a 50-year-old mechanic, gruff but good. His brother-in-law, Paco, grates him, borrows tools, never returns them, brags non-stop. "He's a leech," Miguel mutters, ready to cut ties. Then he reads, "Support one another in love." He grits his teeth, fixes Paco's car anyway, free, quiet. Paco's stunned. Why? Miguel shrugs, family. Later, a tool comes back, a small win. Not perfect, Miguel says, but better. Bearing faults built a bridge, not a wall. Unpacking contentment in bearing with faults. What do we gain by this patience? Thomas folds it into that rich contentment, a peace that endures, a zeal that grows through forbearance. Let's unpack it, because this is love's quiet grit. First, it brings calm. Elena's irritation fizzled when she bore Tim's flaws, anger gave way to understanding. Be patient with all, Scripture urges, and that choice quiets the storm inside. It's not passive, it's power, a contentment that steadies when others shake. Second, it builds humility. Miguel's grudge shrank as he saw his own impatience, Paco's faults mirrored his. All have sinned, Thomas echoes Paul, and bearing others' flaws humbles us. It's not defeat, it's depth, a contentment that rests in shared frailty. Third, it deepens love. Patience turns charity real. Elena's coffee, Miguel's fix weren't grand, but true. Love covers all, Scripture promises, and this bearing binds us. It's not easy, it's eternal, a contentment that loves through, not around, the mess. Connecting to modern life. Let's bring this to your world, right here in 2025. Bearing faults is a lifeline in our friction. Take work, ever grind your teeth at a Tim? Late, loud, sloppy Thomas says, bear it. Look deeper, help one's peace holds when you don't just curse the dark. Or social media, that fault fest. A friend posts nonsense, a stranger offends, your fingers itch to blast. Elena's pause fits here, bear with them, Thomas nudges. Scroll past, pray instead, contentment stays when you don't bite every bait. And personal crises? A spouse forgets, a kid rebels, faults flare, and you're done. Miguel learned bear it, act in love. Forgive as you're forgiven, scripture calls try it, hold space. In a world quick to ditch, this patience is gold, a contentment that carries, not cuts. A final story and reflection. One last tale to root it. There's a woman named Clara, 65, a baker with a soft spot and a sharp neighbor, Ed. He gripes bread's too crusty, shops too loud. Old grouch, Clara thinks, but reads, bear one another's burdens. She slips him a free loaf for you. He grumbles, then grins next day, not bad. He's still Ed, she laughs, but I'm still me. That's bearing with the faults of others, a call to love steadily, to endure kindly, to grow peace in patience. Thomas à Kempis shows us contentment isn't in perfect people, but in a heart that bears, a charity that holds firm. And yet, as we learn to carry others' flaws with grace, a deeper longing stirs, a call to step away from the world's noise and seek a life wholly given to God. Thomas feels this pull too, and he leads us next into the stillness of the monastic life. Part 17, Monastic Life. And so, with our spirits softened by bearing others' faults and our hearts strengthened by patient love, we come to a lesson that lifts our gaze higher, monastic life. Thomas à Kempis turns from the bustle of daily struggles to the quiet of a life set apart, a path of devotion and discipline. He writes, "Oh, how good it is to live in solitude, to be silent and to seek God with a pure heart. This isn't about fleeing life, it's about finding it, stripping away distractions to chase the divine with all you are." Let's start with a story. Meet Brother Thomas, not our Kempis, but a 40-year-old monk in a small hillside monastery. He was a lawyer once, suits, stress, chasing winds until a retreat cracked him open. "I wanted more," he says, trading briefs for robes. Now, his days are simple: prayer at dawn, tending gardens, silence thick with meaning. The world's hum fades, God's whisper grows. It's hard, he admits, knees ache, doubts creep, but it's home. That's monastic life, a surrender that fills, a peace that digs deep. Thomas à Kempis would sit with Brother Thomas and say, "Here, you meet yourself and him." He's not romanticizing Christ sought solitude too, but he sees the cloister as a forge. Habits shape you, silence strips you, prayer holds you. Monastic life isn't for all, yet it's a mirror showing what matters when all else falls away, a zeal for God uncluttered by the world. Here's another tale. Picture Sister Agnes, 58, a nun in a city convent. She was a teacher, loved her kids, but felt split, pulled by 1,000 threads. "I needed one thing," she says, joining sisters who sing psalms, bake bread, serve the poor. Her cell's bare bed, cross, book but rich. "Less is everything," she smiles, hands worn from work, heart light from worship. The noise of old days fades, a quiet fire burns. "I'm his," she says, "and it's enough." Unpacking contentment in monastic life. What does this life bring? Thomas weaves it into that vast contentment, a peace that settles, a zeal that soars in simplicity. Let's unpack it, because this is the soul's deep breath. First, it brings focus. Brother Thomas's suits traded for stillness, law's chaos bowed to prayer's rhythm. Seek first the kingdom, scripture calls, and monastic life narrows the lens. It's not empty, it's full, a contentment that cuts the fat to find the meat. Second, it builds depth. Sister Agnes's bare cell hides a rich heart, less stuff, more soul. "Be still and know," Thomas echoes the psalmist, and that stillness digs roots. It's not retreat, it's advance, a contentment that thrives in the quiet deep, not the loud shallow. Third, it deepens union. Monastic life strips the world to lift God. Prayer, work, silence all sing one song. My soul thirsts for you, scripture yearns, and Thomas says this is the answer. It's not lonely, it's love, a contentment that binds you to the one who matters most. Connecting to modern life. Let's bring this to your world, right here in 2025. Monastic life feels far robes, chants, walls, but its heart's close. Take work ever drowned in multitasking, like Brother Thomas Premonk. Emails, calls, grind. Thomas says, simplify. Cut one thing, pray 5 minutes. Peace creeps in when you focus. Or social media, that noise machine. Sister Agnes's old threads pull their scroll, post, chase. Seek silence, Thomas urges. Mute it an hour, sit still. Contentment grows when you strip the clamor, not feed it. And personal crises? Stress, loss. Life's loud, and you're lost. Monastic life whispers less, more. One thing I ask, Scripture pleads, try it, a walk, a verse. In a world of more, this less is gold, a contentment that quiets, lifts, holds. A final story and reflection. One last tale to root it. There's Father Benedict, 75, a monk for 50 years. He's bent garden toil, prayers kneel but bright. I ran from nothing, he says, to everything. His days blend chant, ho, rest, yet each glows. God's here, he reads in Thomas, and nods. The world's a memory, peace is now. That's monastic life, a call to live simply, to seek holy, to find peace in surrender. Thomas à Kempis shows us contentment isn't in the crowd's roar, but in the soul's hush, a zeal that burns pure in God's light. And yet, as we taste this quiet devotion, a question rises: how do we keep it aflame, steady through life's pull? Thomas points us upward, not just to our own steps, but to the tracks of those who've walked before, leading us next to the example set by the Holy Fathers. Part 18, the example set us by the Holy Fathers. And so, with our hearts stilled by the monastic call and our spirits lifted by a life set apart, we turn to a lesson that anchors our striving in timeless wisdom, the example set us by the Holy Fathers. Thomas à Kempis looks back to the saints, those rugged souls of old, aflame with faith, and bids us follow their light. He writes, "Look upon the lively examples of the Holy Fathers, in whom shone true perfection and religion, and you will see how little we do in comparison." This isn't about guilt, it's about inspiration, a call to lean on their grit and grace as we chase the same God. Let's start with a story. Meet Paul, a 38-year-old electrician, steady but restless. He's drifting, works fine, family's fine, but something's thin. One night, he reads about Saint Anthony sold all, fled to the desert, wrestled demons for God. Paul's no monk, but it hits, he gave everything. Next day, he skips the bar, fixes a widow's wiring for free, prays clumsy but real. Not Anthony, he says, but closer. That's the Holy Fathers, a spark from centuries past, lighting now. Thomas would sit with Paul and say, their lives are maps, follow them. He's not idolizing Christ's the goal, but he sees the saints as torches, Anthony's solitude, Augustine's mind, Francis's joy. They fought, fell, rose, showed perfections not Polish, but persistence. Their example isn't a whip, it's a wind, pushing us past our smallness to God's largeness. Here's another tale. Picture Maria, a 52-year-old nurse, worn by long shifts and a sharp tongue. She's good, but gruff patients flinch sometimes. Then she stumbles on Saint Teresa, prayer deep, words sharp, yet love deeper. She was real, Maria mutters, and tries, it bites her tongue, sits quiet with a patient's fear. It's slow, awkward, but softens her. Teresa nudged me, she says, to care, not just cure. The Holy Fathers reach across time, shaping her hands with their hearts. Unpacking contentment in the Holy Fathers' example. What do their lives bring us? Thomas threads it into that vast contentment, a peace that steadies, a zeal that lifts through their witness. Let's unpack it, because this is old fire for new days. First, it brings courage. Paul's drift met Anthony's desert, bold, bare, unyielding. They endured worse, Thomas says, and that grit steadies us. It's not shame, it's strength, a contentment that dares when we'd shrink. Second, it builds humility. Maria's edge dulled by Teresa's depth. She's not the first, nor the best. We're dust, Scripture humbles, and the saints nod flawed, yet faithful. It's not despair, it's ground, a contentment that rests in their shadow, not our shine. Third, it deepens zeal. The Holy Fathers didn't coast. Anthony wrestled, Teresa prayed through pain. Their love burned, Thomas marvels, and it stirs us. Small steps, big aims. It's not distant, it's near, a contentment that runs hot for God, fueled by their heat. Connecting to modern life. Let's bring this to your world, right here in 2025. The Holy Fathers feel ancient sandals, scrolls, but they're alive. Take work ever stuck, like Paul? Grinds dull, purpose fades. Thomas says, look back. Anthony's all in jolts. You skip a break, help a mate. Peace grows when you echo their fire. Or social media that mirror maze. Maria's gruffness thrives. Their snark, likes, me first. See Teresa, Thomas urges less noise, more soul. Comment kind, or don't. Contentment holds when you chase their depth, not the crowd's flash. And personal crises? Doubt, rut. The saints faced it. Paul and Maria leaned on Anthony, Teresa raw, real. They ran the race, Scripture cheers. Try it, a prayer, a deed. In a world of now, there then is gold, a contentment that stands on their shoulders. A final story and reflection. One last tale to bind it. There's John, 68, a retired cop, tough but tired. Life's heavy knees creak, kids drift. He reads of Saint Benedict order, prayer, grit through chaos. He held it together. John nods, starts a routine dawn walk, thanks God, calls a son. Not holy, he says, but holier. The Father's light guides steady, sure. That's the example set us by the Holy Fathers, a call to look back, to press on, to find peace in their path. Thomas à Kempis shows us contentment isn't in our lone run, but in their relay, a zeal that glows from their flame. And yet, as we draw strength from these ancient torches, a new horizon opens, not just to admire their lives, but to live ours with the same fire, the same steady rhythm. Thomas doesn't leave us gazing backward, he pulls us forward, into the daily dance of devotion, leading us next to the practices of a good religious, where their example finds flesh in our steps. Part 19, The Practices of a Good Religious. And so, with our hearts kindled by the Holy Father's witness and our spirits lifted by their enduring light, we step into a lesson that weaves their legacy into the fabric of our days, the practices of a good religious. Thomas à Kempis turns from the saints' grand deeds to the quiet, steady habits that shaped them: prayer, work, obedience, silence, and offers us a roadmap to holiness. He writes, a good religious is known by his fervor in prayer, his diligence in labor, his humility in obedience, and his patience in adversity. This isn't a call to cloisters alone, it's an invitation for all, to craft a life where every act sings of God, where discipline becomes delight. Let's begin with a story, rich and full. Meet Sister Clara, 45, a nun in a windswept convent perched on a cliff above the sea. She wasn't always here. Once a florist in a bustling city, her days a blur of roses and rush, her nights a haze of wine and worry. I was drowning in noise, she recalls, voice soft as the tide below. A chance visit to a monastery changed her, an old monk's chant, hands gnarled from hoeing, eyes bright with peace. She stayed, traded petals for psalms. Now, her mornings break with lauds, voice weaving with sisters in the grey dawn, her hands knead dough for the poor, flour dusting her habit, her evenings close in silence, a candle flickering as she reads, my soul waits for the Lord. It's simple, she says, but it's everything. Prayer lifts me, work roots me, quiet holds me. That's the good religious fervor and grit, a life carved by steady hands for a higher call. Thomas would sit with Clara, his own monk's heart nodding, and say, these practices aren't chains, they're wings. He's not dreaming. Christ himself rose early to pray, labored with wood, obeyed to the cross, but he sees the religious life as a garden. Prayer waters it, work tills it, obedience fences it, patience lets it bloom. It's not for show, it's for soul, a rhythm that echoes the Father's, a zeal that doesn't flare and fade but burns low and long. Here's another tale, broader and deep. Picture Brother Daniel, 60, a monk in a forest abbey, once a truck driver with a gravel voice and a restless heart. He hauled freight cross-country, radio blaring, chasing miles and money till a breakdown, literal, then spiritual, left him stranded on a dusty road. I'd run out, he says, of gas and God. A hitchhiker's Bible led him to St. Francis barefoot, free, all for love, and he found his way to the brown-robed brothers. Now, he rises at midnight, vigils under stars, voice rough but reverent, he chops wood till sweat beads, stacking it for winter, he bows to the abbot's word, even when it grates, he waits through long, cold Lent with a grin. I'm no saint, he laughs, but I'm theirs, God's and the brothers'. His hands, once clenched on a wheel, now fold in prayer, calluses tracing a new route. Unpacking contentment in the practices of a good religious. What do these habits weave into us? Thomas spins them into that boundless contentment, a peace that steadies like a river, a zeal that rises like dawn. Let's unpack it, slow and full, for this is the soul's forge, glowing with purpose. First, prayer brings intimacy. Clara's chants, Daniel's vigils, they're not rote, but a lifeline. Call to me, and I will answer, Scripture promises, and Thomas says it's breath, each word a step closer to God. It's not distant, it's near, a contentment that whispers, you're not alone, in the dark before light. Second, work offers dignity. Clara's dough, Daniel's wood, small tasks, holy weight. Whatever you do, do it unto the Lord, Thomas echoes Paul, and that labor lifts. It's not drudge, it's dance, a contentment that finds meaning in the sweat, the made thing, the given gift. Third, obedience builds trust. Clara's bow, Daniel's nod, they chafe sometimes, but hold. He who humbles himself will be exalted, Scripture vows, and Thomas sees it as roots yielding to a wiser will steadies you. It's not loss, it's gain, a contentment that rests in order, not chaos. Fourth, patience deepens hope. Clara's silence, Daniel's Lent, they wait, and it works. Tribulation produces perseverance, Thomas cites, and that slow burn shines. It's not grim, it's gold, a contentment that trusts the harvest comes, even through frost. Connecting to modern life. Let's bring this to your doorstep, right here in March 2025, with the world humming loud and fast. The good religious feels far, habits, cells, but its pulse beats close, a rhythm for our rush. Take work ever buried, like Clara once was. Emails stack, hours blur, Thomas says, pray first. 5 minutes, a breath, Lord, guide me, and the day shifts, then work it true, not frantic. Peace settles when you start with him, not the grind. Or social media, that endless roar. Daniel's old radio lives there, scroll, swipe, drown. Be silent, Thomas urges, muted, sit 10 minutes, let quiet sink in. Then post, if you must, with care, not clamor. Contentment holds when you echo their stillness, not the world's shout. And home life? Kids scream, bills loom, chaos reigns. Clara and Daniel built order, try it. Wake early, pray soft, thy will today, scrub a dish, fix a chair, make it yours, yield to a spouse's ask, even when it stings, wait through a fight's heat with a held tongue. One day at a time, Scripture soothes, practice this, and zeal glows steady. In a world of now, this slow craft is treasure, a contentment that roots deep, not schemes shallow. Or crises, loss, doubt, the dark pressing in. The good religious faced it, Clara's wine-soaked nights, Daniel's dusty road. Lean on these, Thomas whispers, prayer to lift, work to ground, obedience to guide, patience to endure. The Lord is my strength, scripture sings. Start small, a candle, a task, a yes, a wait. Their practices aren't old, they're alive, a peace that carries, a fire that warms. A final story and reflection. One last tale, long and vivid, to seal it. There's Mother Beatrice, 72, a prioress in a stone-walled convent, her hair silver beneath her veil, her eyes sharp with years. She was a librarian once, books her world, dust her air, until a cancer scare at 40 broke her open. I'd hoarded time, she says, voice low, and had none left. She found Thomas's words, live as if each day were your last, and fled to the sisters. Now, her life's a weave, matins at 3 a.m., voice trembling but sure, O Lord, open my lips. She tends bees, honey sweetening the poor's bread, hands steady despite age. She kneels to her abbess's call, though her back protests. She waits through sleepless nights, rosary beads clicking, thy kingdom come. Guests come lost, loud, and she listens, serves soup, smiles. I'm not perfect, she says, but I'm his, and that's the practice, day by day, breath by breath. Her wrinkles map a life poured out, her laugh a hymn to the steady way. That's the practices of a good religious, a call to pray fervently, to work humbly, to obey willingly, to wait patiently, to live wholly for God. Thomas à Kempis shows us contentment isn't in the world's rush, but in the soul's rhythm, a peace that steadies like stone, a zeal that blazes like stars, all echoing the Father's song in our own small steps. And yet, as we settle into this disciplined dance, a deeper yearning tugs, a longing to peel back even more, to step beyond the hum of duty into the hush of being. Thomas hears this whisper too, and he leads us next into the tender embrace of solitude and silence, where the soul meets its truest home. Part 20, The Love of Solitude and Silence. And so, with our days shaped by the practices of a good religious and our spirits tuned to their quiet cadence, we come to a lesson that crowns this journey with stillness, the love of solitude and silence. Thomas à Kempis gazes into the heart's deep well and finds a treasure, moments alone, words hushed, where God's voice rises above the din. He writes, seek a convenient time to retire into yourself, and often think of the benefits of solitude. Shut the door of your cell, and call upon your Lord. This isn't escape, it's encounter, a love affair with the quiet that strips away the world's clamor to reveal the eternal whisper within. Let's begin with a story, woven thick with life. Meet Elias, 50, once a factory foreman in a steel town, his days a roar of machines and shouts, his nights a blur of beer and TV static. I was loud, he says, voice now a gravelly hush, inside and out. A heart attack at 47 stopped him cold, sweating, gasping, alone on a cold floor. In recovery, a chaplain left him Thomas's book, and he read, in silence, the soul finds rest. He started small, 10 minutes on his porch, no phone, just the wind through pines. Then longer, a weekend at a cabin, no radio, just a Bible and the lake's lap. Now, he's a caretaker at a retreat house, rising before dawn to sit by a frost-rimed window, breath fogging as he murmurs, here I am. It's not empty, he says, eyes tracing the horizon, it's full, God's there, and me too. That's solitude and silence, a stripping that builds, a hush that sings. Thomas would sit with Elias, his monk soul smiling, and say, in the quiet, you hear yourself, your Lord. He's not preaching gloom, Christ sought the hills alone, but he sees solitude as a hearth, silence stokes it, solitude guards it, and God warms it. It's not for monks alone, it's for any heart craving clarity, a zeal that glows brightest when the noise fades, a peace that settles like dew on still grass. Here's another tale, broader and deep. Picture Mara, 34, a single mother and barista in a city that never sleeps, neon buzzing, horns blaring, her toddler's cries a constant echo. I couldn't think, she recalls, hands still stained with coffee grounds. She loved her boy, her work, but felt frayed snapping at customers, numb by night. One Sunday, a quiet church caught her a stained glass saint, head bowed, alone. She found Thomas loved silence more than words and stole moments, 5 minutes in the storeroom, door shut, breathing slow, an hour after bedtime, lights off, no screen, just a candle's flicker. I'd sit, she says, and feel it lift the weight, the rush. She started a ritual Saturdays, park bench, sketchbook open, no talk, just lines and wind. It's my cell, she laughs, and God's my guest. Her son notices Mom's softer now and her smile's a quiet flame. Unpacking contentment in solitude and silence. What does this love yield? Thomas threads it into that boundless contentment, a peace that pools like water, a zeal that shines like moonlight. Let's unpack it, slow and rich, for this is the soul's sanctuary, carved by stillness. First, solitude brings clarity. Elias's porch, Mara's bench, they cut the fog, let truth settle. Be still and know, scripture beckons, and Thomas says it's sight alone, you see what's real, not rushed. It's not isolation, it's revelation, a contentment that knows itself, unswayed by the crowd's pull. Second, silence heals. Elias's static, Mara's din, they bruised, but quiet mended. The Lord speaks in a still, small voice, Thomas echoes Elijah, and that hush soothes wounds close, noise fades. It's not mute, it's medicine, a contentment that binds up what the world tears. Third, both deepen communion. Solitude shuts the door, silence opens the ear. Elias's here I am, Mara's candle glow. My soul waits for the Lord, scripture sighs, and Thomas calls it love, a tryst with God, no rival voices. It's not barren, it's brimming, a contentment that rests in his presence, not the world's clamor. Fourth, they fuel zeal. Stillness isn't stagnation. Elias tends retreats, Mara sketches grace. Out of quiet comes strength, Thomas muses, and this love rekindles, purpose sharpens, not scatters. It's not retreat, it's renewal, a contentment that burns steady, not wild, for what matters most. Connecting to modern life. Let's bring this to your doorstep, right here in March 2025, where the world spins fast and loud. Solitude and silence feel like relics, cloaks, cells, but they're alive, a balm for our buzz. Take work ever lost in it, like Elias once was? Screens glare, phones ping. Thomas says, step away. 10 minutes, door closed, no sound. Breathe, Lord, still me. Then back, clearer peace holds when you carve that space. Or social media, that relentless hum. Mara's city roar thrives there. Scroll, react, repeat till you're raw. Love silence, Thomas whispers. Log off, sit dark, let it settle. Try an hour, a night journal, not post, pray, not ping. Contentment grows when you mute the feed, not feed the mute. And home? Chaos reigns, TV blares, kids shout, like Mara's old nights. Find your cell, Thomas urges. Wake early, porch chair, no words, or late, lights low, a psalm whispered. Peace, be still, scripture calms. Practice it, 5 minutes, then 10. Zeal sparks when you guard that hush. Or crises, grief, fear, the soul's storm. Elias's floor, Mara's fray, they broke, but silence rebuilt. Hide me in your shadow, scripture pleads. Try it, a walk alone, no earbuds, a corner, candle lit, no rush. In a world of noise, traffic, ads, chatter, this love is gold, a contentment that cradles, a fire that flares in the quiet. A final story and reflection. One last tale, vivid and long, to root it deep. There's old Tom, 78, a widower on a hill farm, his hands rough from plow, his eyes soft from loss. He was a talker once, pub nights, loud laughs till his wife's passing left him hollow, the house too big, the silence too sharp. I ran from it, he says, voice a creak, with whiskey and noise. A grandson's gift, Thomas's book changed him, Seek Solitude, and God will find you. He started slow dusk by the barn, no radio, just crickets, then days, a shack in the woods, no clock, just bread and a worn Bible. Now, he sits hours mist curling, sheep bleating, Lord, it's me. I thought I'd die alone, he says, but I'm not. He's here, in the quiet. His beard's white, his step slow, but his heart's a lantern, lit by stillness.